Hello, everyone. I'm Marilyn Penalosa, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. This video represents our annual report to town meeting of the projects we are recommending to town meeting for approval. Again this year, rather than having individual project sponsors present their projects, I will briefly describe all of them. Additional information on all of the projects can be found in our annual report, online at our website, and with the town clerk's town meeting materials. The original project applications are on the CPC website as well. I hope you will jot down questions as I go through the projects and email them to us at our town address. We will forward your questions to the project sponsors and post their answers on the CPC website for you to review. Both the website and email address are on the last page of this presentation. All of these projects will be on the consent agenda, meaning that they will be voted on with an up or down vote unless any town meeting member requests that a project be pulled out. For that reason, I urge you to have your questions answered before we meet. Note that all projects have been reviewed and approved as complying with the Community Preservation Act by Town Council. Here's a brief look at what we've done to date. A total of $80.3 million of community housing, historic resource, open space, and recreational resource projects. The large historic resources figure is mainly due to our acquisition and renovation of the community center and the restoration of Cary Memorial Building, as well as the restoration of our 3 historic houses. All are projects which provide important services to residents and bring welcome tourist dollars to the town. This slide shows you our financial situation going into town meeting. The beginning balance of our Community Preservation Fund is $3.6 million. The estimated surcharge is based on residential taxes, which last year averaged approximately $445 per household, and the contributions of our commercial base, approximately 19% of the total. Note that the projected state match is larger than in previous years due to a legislative increase in the Registry of Deed fees that make up the State Community Preservation Fund. We estimate the state's contribution will be about 30% this year. If you approve all our recommended projects for fiscal year 22, we will have a balance of $7.3 million to carry over to next year. This is much larger than we normally reserve, but due to the COVID pandemic, we believe that many projects have been paused due to difficulties in planning and construction. We do expect our normal range of projects to resume in fiscal year 23 and anticipate at least one large construction project from LexHab. And finally, as I will explain shortly, if town meeting approves, we will use some of this unanticipated cash balance to pay for last fall's land acquisition rather than incurring debt. Now, let's look at this year's projects. Article 10A, $110,000 for the construction of the community center mansion sidewalk and patio entails the installation of a stamped concrete sidewalk and patio along the mansion side of the community center. When the building was first acquired in 2013, it was recognized that at some point the failing bluestone walkway would have to be replaced to ensure safety and accessibility. As the yellow line on the above photo shows, this one, the new sidewalk would run from the parking lot to the courtyard, overlooking the lawn. The path would continue with stone dust to the rear of the building, as shown by this black line, where newly established sensory garden beds have been installed. These new pathways will encourage outdoor recreational activities and increase trail connections at this highly used facility. Improvements at the park and playground facilities at South Rindge Avenue Park for $170,000. Article 10B is part of a long-term program of renovation and rehabilitation of our town parks and playgrounds to ensure compliance with national safety and accessibility standards. This project will upgrade existing safety surfacing and equipment, widen the walkway to the playground, and install accessible pathways leading to the Arlington Reservoir Trail and the basketball courts. A new bike rack, park benches, trash receptacles, fencing, and signage are also part of the project. Article 10C, improvements at the athletic fields at Muzzey Field, addresses the safety, playability, and accessibility of this well-used field through excavation, regrading, irrigation, and the installation of accessible pathways. This $155,000 project follows similar projects in prior years at many athletic fields across the town. Article 10D, playground enhancements, pour-in-place surfacing at Harrington Elementary School is the first of a series of projects that will replace the existing bark mulch surfacing at our playgrounds with a safer and longer-lasting rubber urethane surface. The new surfacing will ensure that a minimum 12-inch impact-absorbing depth is maintained despite adverse weather or overly enthusiastic use. The product has a use expectancy of 15 years and requires little to no annual maintenance. On the advice of our town's finance department, several of our larger CPA projects were funded through the issuance of 10-year bonds. Article 10E, CPA debt service, reflects the payments that will be coming due in fiscal 2022. The Wright Farm and Community Center will be fully repaid in fiscal year 2024. The Carey Memorial Building debt will be repaid in fiscal year 2025. As you may remember, at last year's special town meeting, we recommended approval of the acquisition of property on Highland Avenue and further recommended that a portion of the cost of the acquisition be financed with debt. However, due to our large cash position and fewer projects in this year's grant cycle, we are now recommending that the entire purchase be funded with cash. This will not have any impact on the timing of the closing or the sellers and will avoid $20,000 in interest expense. If town meeting approves Article 25, amend borrowing authorization conservation land acquisition, the total debt service will be reduced from $2,989,550 to $1,949,550. This project, Article 10F, is our yearly appropriation of $150,000 to meet the expenses of the Community Preservation Committee, legal fees, appraisals, member dues to the statewide Community Preservation Coalition, and importantly, the salary and benefits of our shared administrative assistant, Gina Federico. This year's administrative funds will also be used to fund the $50,000 update of our open space and recreation plan, an important planning tool that must be updated every 7 years and enables the town to apply for certain state grants. And as always, any funds not actually spent during the fiscal year from this fund are returned to the undesignated fund balance of the town's Community Preservation Fund. The Community Preservation Act has been and will continue to be an important source of funding for our town. I think the pandemic has given us a new appreciation of our wonderful conservation lands and recreational facilities, the few town facilities remaining open to us as we comply with pandemic guidelines. We are grateful to have these resources and grateful to have the funding necessary for their continued preservation. And we also recognize that the importance of our history and our commitment to affordable housing in Lexington continues unabated. In these difficult times, the Lexington Community Preservation Fund makes all this possible. We are so grateful for your support. Thank you for listening to this presentation. And please do contact us if we can provide additional information and answers to your questions.